So Christmas is over. That means 2025 is almost finished. It's a lot to learn. Do you feel like you had the time of your life?
The end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Hey guys, it's your favorite mortgage guy, Steve here. Now listen, are we having the time of our life? Listen, as we wrap up the year, I wanted to take a few minutes to reflect on the market, on interest rates, and on some of the lessons we've all learned over the past 12 months. Now, this isn't about predictions or hype, it's about perspective. I've tried to keep you in perspective of what the reality of the market is, because if this year has taught us anything, it's that headlines don't tell the full story. Now, here's the thing: those of you who stayed focused instead of frozen were often rewarded. But still, even though pennies are not being made, how many are in a dollar? Scott, why don't you tell us how many pennies are in a dollar?
100 pennies in a dollar, not 105.
That's right. There's only 100 pennies in a dollar. And by the way, congratulations to Scott's wife, Beth, for kicking the ass out of cancer again. Okay, so listen, let me just start with a couple of questions that you guys ask me. And some of the questions I push off to the end of the year, but the vast majority of them I try to answer as quickly as possible. So here we go. Number one, do I use a prompter? Well, there's notes in front of me. So yes and no. I do have to read the notes. Sometimes you might see my eyes dart, but yes. Is that a big camera? No, it's just a standard camera. And this is real equipment here. Yes, there are two microphones because this one right here is the one that I use mainly for doing the segment. This other microphone has got some audio graphics. So for example, like you might hear some cheering, things like that, but I'm not set up right now to do that. How long does it take to set up the segment? Well, it takes me about 10 minutes of setup, you know, quite a while to write the script or the information that I need for my script. And then from there, it's just one or two takes and we're off to the races. Um, this other question is kind of amazing. Hey, Steve, you never talk about your family. You know, I do try to talk about it once in a while. I don't know how much information people want, but, you know, I've got two children, Avery, who just became an occupational therapist. She just finished her master's. So she's going to be out in the real world as an occupational therapist. She's 28. You'll see at the end of the video, there's a picture. Her boyfriend, Andrew, been with her for 10 years. He works at the shipyard. He's like my son. He just proposed to her and she did say yes. Whew. She said yes. Thank God. And then I've got a son named Evan, and Evan's 25. He's in cybersecurity, loves life, loves his job. Ladies, he's single. If you know anybody that's 25 and lives in Virginia Beach, that's where he lives. Um, but that's my family. I'm not married. I do have an ex-wife, Judy. You know, we've been divorced for 20 years. We remain this close, and we are still a family unit, but not really. We live in separate households, and she's my children's mother. And then, of course, I've got my girl Roxy. She's my four-legged German Shepherd, and there'll be a picture at the end of her as well. And she's just the light of my life. So that's personal information on me. And as you know, I've had a couple things happen in my life with my son and my mother passed away this year, but I had a grandchild, and you'll see some pictures at the end on that. So let's start with the big picture. This year was anything but boring. We saw inflation cool, then stall. We saw the Fed talk through a pivot, a pause, and talk tough again. And through all that, housing, well, guess what? That market kept on moving. Maybe not at the pace of 2021. That was 4 years ago, remember, but moving nonetheless. Inventory stayed tight in many areas. Builders, they stepped it up with incentives. Buyers, they had to adjust their expectations because I had to deal with it. Sellers became realistic and realized, hey, listen, you can't just throw it up against the wall and hope 10 people bid on it because it ain't happening. And quietly, transactions kept happening. Now, the one thing that did surprise a lot of people, despite all the noise, home values in many markets they held firm, or maybe they increased modestly. And you know what? That's important because it reinforces the truth that I often talk about. Housing is not a short term trade, it's a long term asset. Now, many bought new homes. I mean, new homes have always been a great value, and many were veterans with the Homes for Heroes program. Check this out.
You're sitting up late, stars in your eyes, talking about dreams under moonlit skies. Yeah, whisper in, how do we make this real? Buying that house, man, what's the deal? Maybe you're a seller just scrolling a night, thinking I'm a hero. Yeah, you're right. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Space Force 2, you all wear the wings. Firefighters, teachers, med pros, police, you serve with the heart, now let us bring you peace. Homes for Heroes, we've got your back.
HomesForHeroes.com.
You all my friends, jealous, wishing they could be in a home with this much value. It's just waiting here for me. I'm gonna buy my home from Eagle. Yeah, I can see.
I'm Steve, your favorite mortgage guy.
Yep, that's me singing those songs in a studio. I couldn't carry a tune if it had a handle. Thank God for a computer's auto tune. So, interest rates, let's talk about facts, not fear. You know why? Because everybody fears the old interest rate. And those of you that are hanging on the fence, just sitting there, you lost out on equity. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room, those interest rates. Yes, rates were elevated this year, but here's what often gets lost in the conversation. At several points during the year, rates were higher, right? Higher than what? Where they're sitting today? And people still bought homes. In fact, earlier this year, we saw mortgage rates push into levels that made headlines and stopped buyers cold. I mean, the faucet was shut off. But fast forward a few months, and those same buyers who waited, many came back, often facing higher home prices, fewer incentives, more competition, and less inventory. Less inventory. So here's the market reality. You saw me pause because I lost my train of thought for a second there. All right. So one of the things that I learned this year myself is refinancing. And I learned it because I watched many of you who have the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5% interest rates. And I kept telling you, I don't care. I really don't care what your interest rate is. Only you do. You want the bragging rights, not me. Well, here's what your bragging rights got you: a ton of equity, and then you took on a ton of debt. Because my average client is saving between $1,766 a month and almost $3,000 a month, depending on their debts that they picked up. They got a ton of equity, but they bought cars and boats and Pelotons and went out and charged a bunch of bullshit on credit cards. Excuse the expression, but that's what they did because they told me, and they regret it. But you got to pay it back. Well, you got equity. Well, here's the best part: in spite of interest rates going up, refinancing out of the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5% interest rate loans, their payments are still affordable, and they just save between $1,766 and almost $3,000 a month. You listen, you can refinance a rate, but you can't reward a purchase price, right? What kind of reward are you going to put because you bought that Mustang? Okay, it felt good. You drove off the lot and you're like, what the hell did I just do? Spend $1,100 on an electric Mustang that only gets me 230 miles per whatever charge or whatever it is. So, history, that's going to back up all this information. Every rate cycle eventually turns. The people who position themselves, who bought smart, negotiated incentives, and planned ahead are typically the ones that win over time. Now, here's what I wanted to tell you. I've told you about some of the clients that I've dealt with over the years who sold homes and bought homes. And I read the story about the client a couple of weeks ago who had 13 homes. And regardless of the interest rates, he stayed focused on what was going on in the market. What actually worked this year? Well, the markets, builder incentives instead of price cuts, temporary and permanent buy downs, adjustable strategies, not a nothing or all strategy. Because you know what? Listen, you're not going to win. You might win, but education over emotion is far more important. The reason I tell you that is the most successful buyers that weren't trying to time the market perfectly, They were trying to build a plan. And the professionals who thrived, they adapted instead of complaining. Now, here's why I tell you that. Right now, I'm on this big kick. Okay, today's December the 30th. It's 12:48 p.m. Here's the thing. Since yesterday, I probably have taken 15 phone calls from people getting ready to buy right after the first year. They're not getting ready to buy. They're actually actively out looking today and tomorrow and Friday and over the weekend. They just hope that the inventory's out there because it's not. They know where rates are. They know what their payment's going to be, but they also know I want to be a homeowner. I'm tired of paying a mortgage payment, which is called rent because you're paying your landlord's mortgage payment. Those right there, those are all apartments right there behind me. They're good looking apartments too. That's $2,800 a month to live right there. $2,800 a month. You can buy a house for $2,800 a month. So listen, looking ahead, as we head into the new year, here's my message. Don't wait for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. Stay informed, stay flexible. Surround yourself with professionals. I can provide you a professional real estate agent, a referral. Listen, couple of things under professionals. You need a good accountant. I got a guy. You need my guy, you just text me, let me know. January, the #1 divorce filing month. I'm sorry. It's true. It's a reality. If you need a good divorce attorney or family planning attorney, let me know. I've got that referral. But work with those professionals that can explain why you need to do things the way you need to do them. If you have questions about buying, refinancing, investing, renovating, you just want to clarify information instead of clicking on the clickbait that's out there, I'm here for you. On a personal note, this year was more about mortgages for me. It was about growth professionally and personally. And I made the Chairman's Club because of you. Thank you so much. It is hard to make the Chairman's Club, but because of you, you help me stay focused. I help you stay focused on your goal. I want to thank you for trusting me. I'm excited for what's ahead. Now, listen, these moments matter because at the end of the day, homes are about people and not about percentages. And the one thing I need you to know is this: get out there, stop playing around. If you've got friends, families, coworkers, all my information is along in here. You know how to reach me. I take phone calls 7 days a week, 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. Guys, I don't care if they've got any down payment money or not. Maybe they don't need it. Maybe we find a special loan for them that doesn't require it. Maybe they've got credit problems. Who cares? That's what I do. We get it fixed. But guys, listen, you've trusted me this long. Keep on trusting me. I want to move on to 11,000 people helped. I'm real close. Already over 10,000. I'm actually over 10,500. I want to get to that 11,000 number. Help me, guys. I really could use your support this year. I want to share a couple of pictures of my grandson, Hayes, my daughter, Avery, who got married. You'll see my whole family picture in there with my daughter-in-law, Katie. You'll see my girl, Roxy. Guys, thank you so much for being part of my life this year. Have a great 2026. Bye.
So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos and memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your